You're 65. You open your retirement account and the number staring back is $12,000. Not $1.2 million. $12,000. That's the hook. That's how this ends for most people. Let's go back to the beginning and see exactly how. You open your first paycheck stub and see a line item you don't understand. 401k. You skip it. Retirement is 40 years away, an abstraction so distant it doesn't even register as real. Your company offers a match, free money for every dollar you contribute up to a percentage. You don't sign up. Nobody explained what match means, and the enrollment form feels like homework nobody assigned you. You're paying off a car, a phone bill, rent that eats half your check. Retirement isn't a decision you're avoiding. It's a decision you don't know you're making by doing nothing. Your coworker, 10 years older, mentions casually that he wishes he'd started at 22. You nod. You don't ask why. You'll understand the why in about 15 years, and by then the math will already be against you. The first truth, at $0, retirement isn't a number. It's a clock that started running the moment you got your first paycheck, whether you noticed it or not. You finally enroll in the 401k, 6 years after your first paycheck. 6 years of employer match you'll never get back, money that simply didn't exist because you never claimed it. You contribute 3%, matched by your company, and watch the number grow slowly. It doesn't feel like much. $200 a month doesn't feel like a decision that matters. You read an article about compound interest and the math genuinely surprises you. $1 invested at 28 is worth roughly triple what the same dollar invested at 38 will be by retirement. You didn't know time was the actual asset. You thought money was. You get a bonus at work and consider putting it toward the 401k. You put it toward a vacation instead. The retirement account will still be there next year, you tell yourself. The vacation memory feels more real right now, and right now always wins against 40 years from now. The second truth, at $10,000 you finally understand the mechanism. You still don't feel its urgency. Understanding and urgency arrive on different schedules, and the gap between them is where most retirements quietly die. You get married. You buy a house. The down payment eats savings you were quietly proud of, and the mortgage becomes the loudest number in your monthly budget. Your 401k contribution drops from 6% to 4% because the house needs a roof, then a water heater, then a kitchen that needs updating. Retirement doesn't demand attention. It just sits there, patient, while everything else screams louder. You check the balance during a slow afternoon at work. $50,000 looks substantial until you run a projection to age 65. The number at the end is smaller than you expected, uncomfortably smaller, because the math assumes you keep contributing at the reduced rate you're currently at. A friend mentions his retirement account is triple yours. Same age, similar salary. You ask how. He started at 23, contributed consistently, never paused. You realize the gap between you two isn't intelligence or income. It's 5 years and a series of small decisions to pause instead of push through. The third truth, at $50,000, you learn that retirement savings doesn't punish you loudly for underfunding it. It punishes you quietly in the form of a future that simply arrives smaller than you assumed it would. You get a raise. You do something you've never done before. You increase your 401k contribution instead of your lifestyle. It feels strange, almost wasteful, to not spend money that's technically yours. 2 kids are in the picture now, and college costs loom in a way that makes retirement feel like a luxury you can't afford to prioritize. You open a 529 account for them and feel a flicker of guilt every time you contribute to your own retirement instead. You attend a work seminar on retirement planning, mandatory, mildly boring, and one slide stops you cold. It shows 2 people saving the same amount monthly, one starting at 25, one starting at 35. The 10-year head start produces a final balance nearly double the latecomers, despite contributing the exact same total dollars over their careers. You do quiet math on a napkin that night. You're the latecomer in that slide. Not by 10 years, but close enough that the shape of the graph applies to you. The fourth truth, $150,000 is where you finally understand that retirement savings isn't really about how much you save. It's about how early the clock started, and you can't ever buy back the years you didn't use. The market crashes. You watch $60,000 disappear from your account in 6 weeks, a number larger than your first house down payment, gone in the time it takes to notice. You don't sell. Somewhere along the way you learned that panic is the expensive part, not the drop itself. You close the app and don't check it for a month, an act of discipline that would have terrified you at 35. You max out your 401k contribution for the first time, helped by catch-up contributions available after 50, a phrase that quietly confirms what you already suspected. The system itself acknowledges most people arrive here behind schedule. Your parents retire around this time, and you watch how their savings, or lack of them, shapes every decision in their 60s. One friend's parents travel freely. Another friend quietly starts sending their parents money every month, an obligation nobody warned them about. A second retirement account they're funding without meaning to. The fifth truth. At $400,000, you realize retirement savings isn't just protecting your future. It's protecting your children's present, determining whether they'll be free to build their own life or quietly absorbing the cost of yours. The number crosses a psychological line, not because it's enough exactly, but because it's the first time the math suggests retirement is a real date, not a hopeful abstraction. You meet with a financial advisor for the first time. Seriously, not casually. He runs projections you've never seen before, withdrawal rates, healthcare cost estimates, the true price of 30 years without a paycheck. Healthcare specifically shocks you. The number is larger than your mortgage ever was. You start having a different kind of conversation with your spouse, not about surviving month to month, but about what retirement actually looks like, where you'll live, what you'll do with entire unstructured days after decades of alarms and deadlines. A coworker retires at 62 with less than half what you have. You watch him leave with visible anxiety in his eyes, a man stepping off a cliff he's not sure has a landing. You realize the number isn't just math. It's the difference between fear and choice in the final act of a career. The sixth truth, at $800,000, retirement stops being a savings goal and starts being a design problem. Not, will I have enough, but what do I actually want the rest of my life to look like, now that I might? You retire. The paycheck stops arriving, and for the first time in 43 years, Monday means nothing specific. You calculate a safe withdrawal rate, roughly 4% annually, and realize this number needs to fund every year remaining, potentially 30 of them. The account isn't a pile of money anymore. It's an engine that needs to run for decades without stalling. You claim Social Security, a number smaller than you expected, a reminder that it was always meant to supplement savings, never replace them. The gap between what Social Security provides and what you actually need is filled entirely by the decisions you made decades ago, the years you contributed and the years you didn't. You watch a former colleague, someone who never saved seriously, take a part-time job at 67 out of necessity, not preference. You recognize the version of yourself that almost happened, the one from level 1 who skipped the enrollment form because retirement felt too distant to matter. The seventh truth, at $1,500,000, you understand that retirement was never really about the number at 65. It was about every version of yourself between 22 and 65 who either fed this account or didn't, and every one of those decisions arrived here with you, compounded. The account has grown even in retirement, the withdrawals smaller than the market's returns most years, a strange and quiet abundance nobody warned you was possible. You help fund a grandchild's education without touching principal, a gift your own parents were never able to give you. The money has outlived its original purpose and become something closer to a legacy, a decision tree extending past your own lifetime. You think back to the 22-year-old staring at a paycheck stub, confused by a line item he didn't understand, skipping the form because homework felt unnecessary that week. You don't judge him harshly. He didn't know. Almost nobody does, at 22. Somewhere right now, someone is opening their first paycheck stub, looking at a 401k line they don't understand, deciding whether the enrollment form is worth the 10 minutes it takes to fill out. They don't know yet that this 10-minute decision, made or avoided at 22, will echo through every year until they're 65, quietly determining whether their final decades are shaped by fear or by choice. You are the same person at every balance, every age, every level. The only thing that changed was how many years you let the clock run before you finally looked at it.